Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait. Are we live? I can't even tell. I guess we'll find out in a minute. Hashtag screw Comcast. We have several things to talk about this week. Nothing really big. Nothing super big. Did you guys hear Jurassic World 2 put its trailer out? I did actually glance at it. It looks alright. You know, it's not a big deal. I don't have anything to say about it. I actually did like Jurassic World 1. Like, not a lot. You know, it's not a movie I ever plan to rewatch. So, you know, basically the equivalent of a popcorn game. Popcorn movie, I guess? I don't know. You know, anyone ever listen to Eddie Izzard? Nom, 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 nom. Some of you are gonna get that. Sorry, I'm still a little out of it. I haven't been sleeping well the last few nights. All right. So it sounds like we're okay. I'm getting used to the sound of my own voice here. How do I sound, guys? How's the audio? Pray tell. I guess I can get rid of this. There's also a bit of news about MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. It's going to be coming out in December next year, and it's going to be featuring full slot-in, slot-out online co-op for the main campaign, up to 4 players total, so 3 additional players, which is awesome. I think that's fantastic. I am really hopeful for that because I love MechWarrior, and I love co-op, so this kind of works out for me. Of course, it's not coming out for a year. Don't worry. Excuse me, what I meant to say is it's not coming out for a year. Thank you, Gwahir, the Windlord, very much for those. Those are especially helpful right now. For reasons we'll get into. I actually forgot to jot that down on my notes. Give me 1 second. There we go. Oh, gosh. Well, it does, Leander. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You know, hiring people, firing people. Come on, you know. Alright, hang on just a second. I just realized I'm a moron. Oh, no, I'm not talking about the Comcast thing. Not until it's finished. Alright, where's my polls? So there's a poll going on right now. And I want to plug it. I actually meant to plug it last Loreweek. This is basically the last time I'm plugging it right here. So either Guido or Third are going to be starting a campaign that I'm going to be playing in, along with the other one, which we'll start doing on Thursdays, since Primus is currently on hold for probably several months. Guido has plugged a setting called Other Dust. Some of you may have heard of that. I never had. I still need to finish reading up on it. It's basically Fallout without the ridiculousness. And so it's going to be a post-apocalyptic thing. We're going to wake up from cryopods and be like, oh my god, and try to figure out what we're doing. Guido will be running his own thing there. His own campaign or whatever. Third would be running 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And he would be running the module Rage of Demons, for those of you who are aware of what that is, which is a professional official module that came out. And basically, all you need to know is it involves demons, the Underdark, and lots and lots of Illithid. So, please, if you are going to be participating, if you would like to join us on Thursday evenings, that's when we'll be streaming those, please feel free to go ahead and vote on that and let us know what you think. What else? Do I have anything else in my early preamble thing? Let me check my notes. Got so many notes. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off for the last like 4 days. I still have a whole list of stuff I gotta do. I guess that will go away. You want to hear something funny? Just kind of unrelated to anything. So, I was going to go ahead and procure a custom sign that I can hang on my door. And on one hand, it would be like streaming, in, you know, big purple lettering. On the other side, it would be recording in dark, red lettering, so that it's nice and obvious what I'm doing. Because when I'm streaming, people can walk in, that's fine. I don't really mind all that much. When I'm recording, I need everything to be as silent as possible, right? So I go and I find this nice site, and they're actually setting me up. They pretty much do exactly what I want. A nice aluminum thing, a little inlay, that kind of thing, double-sided, and they'll punch the holes in it. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. It was going to be about $35, which I expected for that kind of a custom job. And then they said, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do this. And I'm like, why? Well, we have a minimum purchase of $125. The latter, Ruximus. All of us have expressed an interest in continuing board game night, though, because we've been having fun. So anyways, instead I got a paper plate and scribbled on it for a bit, and that's my sign. Anyways, so let's go ahead and talk about our topics for the day. So far, no dropped frames, so that's a good sign. God, I'm really out of it. Sorry, guys. I've actually really been sick the last few days, too. Did I tell you that? Got some really kind of bad ear infection, and my throat actually still hurts from whatever the hell was going on. And so if I'm straining a little bit, that's why. Let's talk about Patreon. Now, before I say anything, before I go into detail, before I elucidate whatsoever, reactions. Anybody? Gut reactions. No, I haven't been able to do a single speck of work, Ruximus. Between dealing with this and being sick, I have gotten nothing done. The irony is, between being sick, I wouldn't have been able to stream anyway, so I suppose that's okay. I mean, it's a convenient time to be sick. It's when I don't have internet. I've done my research on the Patreon thing. And oh no, I'm not saying anything yet, because the whole point of this experiment is to say, what's your gut reaction to the news, see what you think, and then see how many people are in on this, I suppose, is the way to put that. So let's go ahead and discuss reality. Patreon, for me, I'm going to use that because it varies from state to state, because that's how things work here. It also varies from country to country. For me, Patreon takes 15% of my cut. Took. I should use past tense here. So, if you donated $20, you were billed $20, and I got... Oh, God, I can't do math in my head right now. $875 or whatever, $1875 or whatever that is. I'm sorry, I can't do math in my head, but you get the point, right? That's how the system used to work. Now, for a couple of reasons, one of which is clear and one of which is theory, Patreon has decided to change up that formula. You say that's a massive percentage, Mandarton, but it's actually by far one of the smallest. And for the overall convenience factor, and convenience factor not for me, but convenience factor for you guys, that 15% is worth it. Because let's just say that the absolute best option for me to get the maximum amount of money that you guys put in, with the fee being on me, would be straight through PayPal. And there is actually a method of doing that. But it's a pain. Every single patron would have to set up a PayPal account. Every single patron would have to set up a monthly transaction, like a rule set. And there's just a hassle to do that. And that means less money. Less people are simply willing to do that. By contrast, Patreon involves hitting go, effectively, and then punching in your info, and then you're done. The convenience factor is very important when you're selling any kind of goods in any kind of market, because it means you will reach more people. Make sense? I'm saying this to get across why the 15% is completely acceptable to me, given what I get out of that. That 15% does actually get me a lot more than it otherwise would. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what Patreon's actual change is. what Patreon has decided to do... oh, actually, no, let me rewind. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm still stuffy-headed. I can't even hear in my right ear right now. That's how clogged I am. Let's talk about why Patreon is doing this. Now, here's the definitive reason, the thing we know for certainty. Patreon has decided, is doing this in order to try and prevent scams. Not scams from creators, scams from viewers. And I have been a victim of this too. Now, I am not as much of a victim as this, but let me put it to you this way. The way Patreon's system works is, let's say I have a thing where if you become my patron, you gain access to some content that's on Patreon that you otherwise wouldn't have, okay? Let's just assume that. So if you were going to go ahead and pledge $20 a month, right? You pledge in and you sign up and you put in your info, because you have to do all that, then you gain access to that new content. You haven't paid anything, I remind you. In fact, you haven't paid a cent. And then, towards the end of the month, when the bill goes through, you withdraw your information or have given false information to begin with, so you're not actually billed anything. Now, when that decline goes through, you are pushed out of patron status. But you still get that free month. And it also is kind of a dick move just for general trolling's sake. There are plenty of... I've actually had someone just last month who said, yeah, I'm going to Patreon up for $50 a month. I didn't get a dime out of that. Not one penny. Because it was a troll, right? Make sense? So, they have approached... Patreon as a company has approached several methods to try and combat this. Now, one of the things they've done is they've implemented this system several months ago. No, it wasn't any... I didn't recognize who it was, Roxanne. They implemented a system a few months ago where you can bill them for when they sign up, and then bill them for when the actual monthly thing goes through. Now, that was an option. For the record, I don't have that option turned on. I don't particularly see the reason or need, since I keep track of things manually, so I know who my actual patrons are. I know who's actually put money into the show, and I know exactly to the cent how much every one of you have put into the show through Patreon, specifically, not everything else. I don't have records for everything else. So, that doesn't bother me, so I have that option off. A lot of people have turned that option on to avoid the people trying to get free stuff. And thus, if you put in false information, and, you know, they go ahead and have that option on, they pledge, no money goes through, they're not a patron, they don't get anything free. It was a decent solution, but there has been a not insignificant amount of complaints about that solution, basically because of human stupidity, and I hate to say it that way, but it's true. Patreon, for monthly things, bills at the end of the month. Generally, those actually go through the first business day of the month. So, for example, for this month, that would have been the 1st, December 1st, is when that would have gone through, okay? So, let's say you decide, you've just discovered this new show, and you're like, man, I want to pledge into this show, and I'm going to put down, $5 to be in the $5 tier, and I'm going to do that on November 27th. So you get billed $5 on November 27th, and then you get billed $5 on December 1st. And you see the problem there? Now again, that's really on the person's side of things, if I could just be completely blunt. But Patreon has been trying to figure out a way to solve that. All of this has been an explanation of one of the biggest reasons why they have changed to this new method. And you might be looking at me like, what does this have to do with anything? Because this new method isn't actually necessarily about the fees or pricing, it's about how they are processing transactions. Now, for those of you who don't know, you have to pay to use a credit card. Now, who pays varies. If you go to McDonald's and you swipe, you are actually paying for the use of that credit card. Not directly, but McDonald's and most restaurants, most grocery stores raise their prices a very small amount in order to cover credit card fees, because every swipe McDonald's is charged for. Make sense? That's how credit card transactions work. Because there's certain restrictions and legal requirements, which I actually am in favor of for once, in order to make sure that each of those charges goes through and is legal and legit and isn't being fraudulent and isn't getting stolen and blah, 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 right? All the stuff that's required to keep that as is. So, what they are trying to do is, rather than have what they have been doing, which is effectively processing a large amount of income to Patreon and then processing that through Patreon, basically one lump sum, which lowers the overall fee that they have to pay. Instead, they have decided to go ahead and charge on an individual transaction basis. Now, what this does is this will increase the overall efficiency of those kind of transactions. It will ensure that they don't have to double bill. It will ensure that they don't have to have most of the problems I was just discussing, right? Catch is that is more expensive, because now every...
Of course you follow me. They all do.
Now Seend over here has a Palpatine thing for some reason. Thank you, Seend. Excuse me, every single transaction, every person who pledges $1 is being processed as an individual transaction. Make sense? Excuse me. Give me a moment here. I need to see what Seend just did and why. Seend just donated $5 saying support the lore. Thank you, Seend. Now let me go and be blunt and say that I think, for the reasons I have already stated, that is an invalid thing to do. From my professional business perspective, as a manager, as someone who has studied economics for pretty much his entire life, I would say, no, we need to not do that. We need to undo that. We need to find another way to deal with that. Okay, that's my opinion on that part. Now let's talk about the other half of the equation, because the other half of the equation is the fees. Now this is interesting in its own right. Before I talk about the fees, actually, I just want to talk about internet outrage. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I use the phrase internet outrage? I imagine most of you do. I suppose Battlefront 2, EA, is one of the most recent examples of this, but also Shadow of War, excuse me, was a recent example of that. I'm trying to limit myself to gaming examples, but the point is, internet outrage, let me go and use my definition. Let me be clear about this. Internet outrage is when a lot of people go, "Rah!" and they're all completely upset and aggravated and make a huge deal out of something that is either misreported or isn't a huge deal. Okay? That's internet outrage. And I stress that because there is such a thing as legitimate outrage over legitimately crappy stuff. That's not this. I have been studying this whole Patreon thing in my spare time, mostly on my phone, because no internet, for the better part of the last week. And there has been a lot of internet outrage about this Patreon thing. In fact, I can actually go glance over at this. I actually have my Patreon outro thing right here, my exit surveys. Now, things have actually been pretty cool for me. I have only lost 6 patrons at about $15 a month from those 6 patrons, all of which have been, I am not happy with the new fees, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Seend. I just noticed the patron change. I do appreciate it, Seend. Thank you. Very much so. Now, one of these people said that that the changing the terms is stealing from donors and creators, which is not true. I mean, that's a provable falsehood. I haven't even talked about the actual specific change yet as far as the finances. I will get to it, I swear. But it's the least important thing about this, which is why I'm discussing it last. But I also had a couple of people say that they no longer could afford to pledge because of the fees. Now, if you are at a point where 37 cents, and yes, that's the actual number, is simply too much, like if you can't afford 37 cents, you should not be my patron anyways. You need to go figure out what's going on in your life economically and fix it. Like, holy crap, man, I don't need your dollar that much. But that brings me to the actual point of the fees. Now, the fees have a very... let's actually talk about the new fee setup. So, the fees from the patron side are going up. The fees from the creator side are going down. Now, we've actually talked about this several times on stream. I don't think we ever discussed it during the Loreweek section. But, for example, earlier, Guy here gave me a Twitch Prime sub, right? Now, that doesn't actually cost him anything. Except for the Amazon Prime sub, but that is a $5 sub, which means I get 50% of that, right? So in other words, the price of the fee, there's always a fee. There is always a fee. All that matters is who specifically pays for that fee. In the case of Twitch, I'm the one who pays that fee. 50% of that income is chopped off on my end. Make sense? Now with bits, it's on your end. If you want to send, and please don't do this. I'm just informing, okay? But on bits, if you put in $5 worth of bits, I get $5 and you pay, I think it's $5.25 or something like that. I forget the exact percentage, but basically the fee goes to you. You pay more to make sure I get the full amount of the original pledge. Make sense? Those are the two types of fees that exist. Either you're paying the fee or I'm paying the fee. Now again, previous to now, through Patreon, I paid a 15% processing and making Patreon continue to exist as a company fee. What is going to happen is I'm going to be paying an absolutely ridiculously smaller fee to the point where it might not even register. It's going to be something like 1.8% or something like that for my category. But everyone has to pay a fee. Remember? That's just economics. Patreon is a business. And just like every other business, like Twitch, like PayPal, like your banks will do fees too for transactions like this, or transfers. It just changes who is paying the fee. Now what's happening is you guys are paying the fee. $7 for $5 in bits, damn. So this won't be that bad. This will be 35 cents and an additional 2.9% on the amount you pledge. Now, for the most part, that basically means most of the $1 people and $2 people will be putting in $1.37 or $2.39, I want to say, instead of $1 and $2 respectively. Some of the larger pledgers will get into a significantly more amount of money. Let's say you're putting in $20. That would mean you'd be putting in... You know what? I can't do math in my head. I'm sorry. My brain is too blah right now. Give me a second. But I want to get exact numbers, so... So if you put in $20, you would be paying $20.93 in order to put in $20 on Patreon. Make sense? Now, again, this is all about changing who pays the processing fees from the creators to the patrons. Now, I get that some people are upset about that. Absolutely. But this is absolutely a case of internet outrage. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. I have heard people screaming. I have seen people write ranting letters about how this is all about the greed of Patreon and how they're just trying to suck more money away from the creators and the developers and blah, blah, blah. And all of that is bull crap. I'm not even going to try to dance around that topic. I'm not even going to try to be polite today. That's bull, okay? Whether you're acceptable of this or not, that's up to you. That's up to you. But that's the specifics of what is changing, and I wanted to be a nice, careful, calm, let's talk about this situation. Now, if some of you do not want to pay those additional fees for me, I understand completely, and I really do. I get it. There are legitimate reasons and legitimate grievances that could exist here. But I'm not going to name names, but there is a certain creator who has reportedly lost in the dozens or hundreds of patrons simply because of this new change. And that's kind of ridiculous. Right? I mean, I think I've made it clear that the amount of money, even if you're putting in $20 a month, is basically another dollar. So you're paying 21 roughly to give 20. Again, you know, because I keep hearing, I've also heard from certain Patreon creators like myself who are like, oh my god, I'm going to lose all these $1 fees and $2 fees. And certainly the 80-20 rule does apply here. But again, it's not that hard to, for example, pledge down. Like if you're at $2, just pledge $1. Boom, you're done. Or try to simply support some other way, or if you really can't afford 37 cents, okay, I get that. Now, I do want to discuss, I just realized I've kind of glossed over something. I do want to discuss one thing that is a legitimate grievance to the system. Again, if you rewind to the beginning of me talking about this, this is going to change things to a per transaction method for the reasons I already mentioned. And as I mentioned, professionally, I don't agree with that logic. I don't. I think that's silly. I think it's a silly reason to do that. But let's say you are one of those people, and they do exist, who supports 10 patrons or 20, you know, and you basically have like $20 a month that you can afford, and so you want to go ahead and support these 20 people, or maybe these 10 people. Okay? I mean, people like that exist. This is going to be a much worse situation for those kinds of people, because they are now going to be, rather than putting in $10 a month, they'll be putting in, come on, math head, about $11.60-ish, give or take, $11.60, or, you know, if in the $20 situation, if you're putting $1 to each person, you're going to be putting in something like, God, I'm sorry, I cannot do math in my head right now. $27.40. There we go. That's the actual number I wanted. So, yeah. If you're the kind of person who puts in $1 to 20 people, you're paying an extra $7.50 a month. So I do get that there are legitimate grievances with this. I absolutely do. The really funny part is there are ways around this, and I'm not sure why Patreon isn't doing this. It is possible to do multiple types of credit card transaction. You don't need to standardize to one method of transaction interaction. You could literally just say, have a sign-up sheet and say, I want all of this to be part of the lump sum, or I want these to be individual, and then kind of bypass that problem, right? But again, as I said before, I think the earlier problem is not a valid one. I think there are other possible solutions for this. So, there are actual problems with this new system, but the sky is not falling. Well, that gets into math, Gallade. Can't do that. And again, that goes back to that convenience feature. Because the more of a hassle someone has to go through to pay for something, the less likely they are to pay for it. That is just a broad, across the universe kind of a rule. Accessibility is super duper important to making sure you get as large of a market as possible. Some people who really want it will bother to go through the math. Yeah, absolutely. Just like some people will bother to spend 54 minutes on the phone to pay $60 to pay $200. Because they have to. But you get my point. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I'm glad you liked it, Darkstar. I'm sorry I couldn't update the website when it went live. Alright, so we've talked about Patreon. And yeah, Twitch takes half. That's another thing. Most people don't talk about that. They're all upset about Patreon. Twitch takes half. 50%, guys. Half. There's a reason I only ever ask for the Twitch Prime subs from you guys. Anyways, who here likes Megaman? Anybody? I mean, I don't. I can't stand Megaman personally. Terrible game. Thank you, Zoan. Zoan just upped his pledge as well. And I do appreciate it. A lot. Especially right now. I've spent $700 this week on this Comcast crap. No joke. It's like $728 or something like that. So... True. Lurker. I'm actually a huge Mega Man fan, for those of you not aware. I haven't really done a lot of Mega Man stuff, but I have nothing to say about the VGA awards. They exist! Okay, so, moving on. let me go and just say that I am a gargantuan Mega Man fan. Like, I have been a Mega Man fan since I first played Mega Man 2, which was the first Mega Man game I ever played. There's something, I usually refer to them as precision platformers. Like, for example, Shovel Knight is clearly a Mega Man game, to use a direct comparison there. I love this series. I love playing it. It's one of the few games that even to this day I would say I'm actually legitimately good at. You know, I play to relax, for God's sakes. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy that we are getting a new Mega Man game, Mega Man 11. Now, let's go down the list here. First of all, let me just say that I do like the look. I like the kind of pseudo cel-shaded. I like the 2.5D look. They're actually doing it properly, because a lot of places will do 2.5D, where there's just like a 3D rendered thing in the background, which is basically attached to the foreground, so it's kind of like this. Instead, they're doing a proper layering system, and in fact, if you've watched the video, you can see how the angle changes on the object as you're going around it, which is kind of cool. And Roximon, damn it, Roximon, thank you. Yeah, Mega Man's not a cash cow, that is true. It's right up there with the Metroids here. Oh, you already mentioned Metroid. Two of my favorite game things of all time are Mega Man and Metroid. I'm not kidding. They're two things I'm really good at. Anyways, so Mega Man 11, you know, the new graphic style looks great. I like the fact that they're making it so that Mega Man Rock himself actually looks different. I don't know if you've seen this, but he doesn't just change colors, he changes his appearance a bit. I kind of think we should have had that the whole time, and in fact, in my own headcanon, I have actually, in fact, anybody who read Robot War knows this, he actually does physically change appearance in several ways when he uses different bosses' powers, Cutman being the obvious big example there. Because that just makes sense, right? He's basically adapting to use this new thing. Yeah, it sounded like he did have a voice. I'm not sure what I think of that, because I've never heard Mega Man voiced in a way that I like. I get why they do it, but for the most part, they tend to have Mega Man sound like an 8-year-old girl. And I don't like that. Pardon me 1 second. Whoops. Stop, Bass! Why was BB enemies? Anyways, so I'm liking pretty much everything I'm seeing about it, with one big exception. Let me talk about something, because I don't just want to bring up Mega Man for the sake of it. Why, in God's name, would you decide to they did a lead up? They did this big, oh, we're going to do a big Mega Man stream on Monday, and it's going to be this whole thing. I even watched it when I was streaming on mute on the side, so I saw it live. This big build-up, and it's a game that we're working on and will come out in a year. We might have news for you next summer. Now, let me go ahead and be clear. I get that this is not unique to Capcom. In fact, a lot of companies do this. It actually aggravates the piss out of me, and I swear to God, the older I get, the more this pisses me off. Like, I'm seeing Mega Man 11, and they're showing playable stages, and I'm like, sweet! And keep in mind, it's becoming slightly more popular nowadays to announce a game and then have it come out soon. Nintendo does this fairly regularly, actually, and we'll be talking about another one that Anthony just gave away in just a moment about this. But no. There's this new Mega Man game, and the moment they said, you know, end of 2018, I'm like, ugh, really? Really? Okay. That's great. Now, I prefer super quick announcements. I prefer, hey, a game's coming out in like a month at the outside. That's my personal preference. However, I will also acknowledge that there's several reasons why that doesn't work for several people. So, I've actually thought this out, and we've actually discussed this on stream before. I personally, 6 months. I think 6 months is the sweet spot. For people like me, we don't have to wait super long. For people who need to save up money for it, they have plenty of time to plan and prep for it, right? And there's even enough time to do a decent marketing campaign to build up both hype and hoip, right? 6 months pretty much hits the sweet spot right there. A year? An unknown? Unknowns piss me off more than anything. I mean, when's Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out? Or FF7R? Or Bannerlord? Or Battletech? You know? How many games do we have right now that are just unknown? Death Stranding is another one. Unknown. Yeah, Cyberpunk 2020. It's another one. Or 2077, excuse me. I know exactly why I say 2020. Star Citizen. Yeah, there's another one. I mean, you get my point, right? So this drives me absolutely insane when companies do this. And again, I know I'm not quite the same as normal people. I do understand that. But when I see something like that, all of that excitement, like I was watching, and I don't know if you guys saw me because I was kind of distracted because I was playing Total War at the time, but I'm like, okay, yeah. Oh, this is great. Next year, flunk. Enthusiasm gone. And at this point, I'm just going to forget it exists because it's not coming out for a freaking year. That being said, supposedly, Mega Man 11 will be coming out on... God, what is it? It's like PS4, Vita, Switch, and PC, I think? Oh, and Xbox, I think. I'm not even 100% sure on that one. And that's awesome. That's very consistent. Capcom has been pretty broad when it comes to who they're developing for a while now. And I am probably going to be picking it up on the Switch. I might also pick it up on the PC. I haven't decided about that. That reminds me. Also, apparently, and there's some really vagueness about this, so once again, this is just kind of a thing, but the Mega Man X series is going to be coming out on Switch and PC. And probably some other things, but those are the only two I care about. I'm really happy about that. I'm a huge fan of the Mega Man X series. We don't know any details at all. We don't know if it's the Mega Man X collection, which is already a thing. We don't know if it's going to be, Mega Man X1 released separate from Mega Man X2, released separate from Mega Man X3. We don't know how much it'll be. We don't know if it'll be a straight port. We have no idea of any details. But the mere fact that they're doing that, I'm okay with. But yeah. And hang on, I think I missed something from Tigzar earlier. Yep, there it is. Hang on. You say that, Tigzar, and I don't disagree that might be the reasoning. I just disagree with the reasoning, if that makes any sense. I don't think that, hey, we need to let people know we're working on something, is a valid reason to do these ridiculously in advance announcements. And you know what? Even ignoring preference and hype generation and hype degeneration, which is a concept I've talked about many times, there's a very fundamentally easy way to understand why you shouldn't announce things too far in advance. Because you don't know where you're going to be that far in advance, right? How many major games, even good games that have come out in the last 10 years, have had troubled development, have had unforeseen delays, have had rights issues, have actually been shut down, I mean, you get my point, right? So let me use a direct example that I imagine most people in chat actually give a damn about. Kingdom Hearts 3, right? How long... I mean, FF15 is actually the better example, since we can actually see that one in reverse. So let's go ahead and use FF15. They are like, we're going to do FF13 Versus, and it's going to come out in a bagrillion years. Even when they announced it wasn't supposed to come out for like 2 more years. And then there were issues 2 years from then. And then there were issues like another year after that, and so forth and so on. You get my point, right? So even if you ignore preference, hype, or anything else, you don't know what's going to be happening in 2 years. So again, like I said, professionally, 6 months to a year is pretty much the range, I would say. Not just for preference, but to actually hit that sweet spot of announcement, hype, but don't go over the year mark, because you have no idea what the hell's going to go on in a year. Anyways. So continuing the trend of talking about older games, Who here has ever played any of the SaGa series? What? Bonus question. Who here has even heard of the SaGa series? The what, Larry? I've never even heard of that. Hence the 6 months, Max Time. That's why I even gave your argument earlier. I don't know if you heard me. Crowdfunded games are kind of another thing. No, not Tales of. Cashel has, Roximus has. Yeah, I've never even heard of that, Larry. Takoid has at least heard of it. Nope, it's actually capital S-A, capital G-A. SaGa. I forget what that sounds like. So, the SaGa series is actually a fairly long-standing series. Started with Final Fantasy Legends 1. Yeah, I know, right? It's actually not called that. I forget its proper Japanese title. But either way, FFL1 on the Game Boy was the first SaGa game. And then they did 3 games on the Game Boy, one of which was actually good. FFL3 is a legitimately good game. I would recommend that even today. Then they went to the SNES, and then they went to, I think, the Dreamcast. And then the series died. Just another one of those franchises that died. Under Square Enix's label. Well, I actually liked several of the Romancing SaGa games. Played fan translations, obviously. And Romancing SaGa 2, which is a good pick in my opinion, is getting a modern day... I think I'm safe to call it remake, but I'm not 100% sure if it really qualifies as a remake. You can find a thing. It's coming out on Steam, if nothing else. You can go find a trailer for it, which I'm not going to show you, because it's nice and long. But it was a different type of RPG, and I liked that. Like, you played the leader of a kingdom, right? And you would still go around and do stuff like in a typical RPG, but rather than leveling up to get this, or, you know, gaining new abilities through, like materia or whatever, you would have to research them in your kingdom. You would have to have your scribes and your soldiers and your scientists say, we need to figure out how to cast this new spell, in which case you would then have access to it. And the more territory you had access to, the more gains you would get from battle, and all sorts of fun stuff. It was actually very cool. It was also a generational game. Romancing SaGa 2 went through 6 generations, I think? I forget how many exactly. But the point being, you'd play someone, then you'd play your child, then you'd play their child, etc., etc., etc. So, I mean, cool, right? Like I said, it's not super different, but it is a new... It was different enough that it caught my attention, and I actually really enjoyed it. The other cool thing is that Romancing SaGa 2 also had this whole scenario system. Basically, think of them as quests, you know, typical modern day quest. You would go do this quest, and it was a whole. It's not like go kill 10 boars. I mean, like a whole quest arc thing. And then once that's concluded, you come back and time would advance a little bit, right? It was a cool concept. So, anyways, Romancing SaGa 2 is coming out very soon, if I'm not mistaken. Here's why I say I can at least possibly call this a remake, because they're including a new Gaiden thing, which is called Avalon's Garden or something like that. Oh yeah, by the way, it's coming out this Friday. Excuse me, I thought it was actually a little later than that. So, coming out this Friday. It's including new classes. There's going to be a new scenario. So again, new actual content, new quest. There's going to be a new dungeon. And they're adding New Game Plus. So, I highly recommend this game, and I really want to play through it, and I am hopeful that you guys will permit me to do that at some point as a premiere run, because holy crap. So, really awesome stuff there. Yeah, on PC, on Steam. It's coming out on Steam this Friday. And I'm super hyped. Hang on, I need to actually check that. There we go. Yeah, kind of like that dot hack thing. That's a good place. So, yeah, I know, right, Roximus? Hey, Grey Wolf. So, I'm really happy about that. Yeah, I know, right, Tigzar? It's just... I do get Max Time's argument. I really do. I totally understand having a tight budget and wanting more advance warning. But I cannot deny that I love it when a game is announced and it's coming out in like a week, right? Speaking of which... Anybody out there like Portal? Because I do. I loved Portal. I played the crap out of Portal. I started speedrunning Portal, and then I saw what actual speedrunners can do with Portal, and then I quit speedrunning Portal. Have you not been aware of what's going on, Meatfist? I just got my internet back today. I haven't had internet since like Wednesday, dude. Portal, I even like Portal 2. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I actually like Portal 2 more than Portal 1. Go ahead. Make fun. Yell, scream. It's all good. I don't mind, really. I get that a lot of people prefer Portal 1. I would go so far as to say that Portal 1 was a lot more innovative and a lot more groundbreaking than Portal 2. But I would say that overall, Portal 2 is a better game. My opinion, of course. And I admit I'm biased because Portal 2 has a lot more story to it. It's also true that they are very different types of games. You know, despite being direct successors and having the same general set pieces, Portal 1 is a puzzle platformer. Portal 2 is... God, it's actually hard to explain. They're different. Everything about them is completely different, especially the level design. Hugely different. Anyways. Probably Tigzar. We'll find out this Thursday, I guess. Portal 2.5 is coming out the 20th, I believe? Yes, the 20th. 10 days from now. That was just announced last week. Now, I call it Portal 2.5 because it's not actually a Portal game. It is a... Well, actually, we don't know a lot of specific details, so I am presuming that it is a bridge-building physics game, for lack of a better way to put that, which happens to be set in Portal with Portal things, with Portal setup. You know, they're actually bringing... So Valve did work on this project. They did actually add some development team, and they did pay for some of the development of it. And of course, they did bring back GLaDOS and a few other people from the original Portal series. But effectively, this is actually a Gaiden game, hence why it's Portal 2.5. And yes, they still can't count to 3. Trend has been maintained. But, yeah, it's a polybridge. I was going to say, anybody of you who ever, back in the era of Flash games, who have ever played a bunch of Flash games, like Newgrounds, back when Newgrounds was actually good, or Armor Gaming, or whatever it was called, there was a bunch of bridge constructing type Flash games that were basically like this, by all accounts. It's just, now we're going to be doing bridge construction with portals, which admittedly sounds kind of awesome. So... That's going to be another one for the, if anybody wants me to do a premiere run, I would be happy to. I'm sorry, give me just 1 second. I'm making a note here real quick. There we go. So, continuing our trend of talking about older games. Who here has played Star Control? I'm not going to ask who here likes Star Control, because in my experience, anyone who's played it, liked it. So, how many of you played Star Control? Or Star Control 2? I actually did a recent replay through, because it was requested for a rumination. I forget if that was this year or last year, but it was relatively recent. It was actually surprisingly fun to go back through it. Star Control was a very old, like early 90s, late 80s PC game. I forget the exact year, forgive me. It was one of those games that you look back and it's like, God, I can't believe how complicated that game was. Because it's not really, it doesn't look like it. You look at it, it's like, oh my God, what is this? But there was tons of depth and complexity, and the different captains, the different actions you could do with people, and how you could accomplish quests, and how you could build up your ship, and your relationship, your reputation with everyone, and just all sorts of stuff. It was an incredibly in-depth, complex game. Yeah, Elite is another example of a game that didn't look complicated. Good example. I actually like to use Ogre Battle as one of my favorite examples of a game that doesn't look complicated and is actually wonderfully complex. So for those of you not aware, they are making a Star Control 3. Or not 3, sorry. Is it 3? Hang on. Star Control. Let me just Google this really quick. It's on Steam. Star Control Origins. I forget what number we're up to. Is this 4? I actually forget what number. Anyways, you can look it up on Steam right now. It is we don't have an ETA or release date or anything, but it looks good. Like, it looks legit good. I'm actually pretty excited about this, and it's worth noting that I'm a bit of a fan of Stardock, who are the ones who are both making and publishing it. So I'm probably gonna faith purchase that one, but that's not what I'm bringing this up about. 5, thank you. So it's a Star Control 5. That's not why I'm bringing this up. I want to talk about rights issues. I should rephrase that statement. I am going to talk about rights issues. I don't want to talk about rights issues. I know, right, Tigzer? So when I say rights issues, let me go ahead and say that, and this is actually a very common thing. I've actually talked about this type of concept a lot. A lot of titles, franchises, IPs were developed in the 80s, and it's almost specifically in the 80s. A little bit... of fear. Oh, Seed's losing health. Thank you, Pico. Although I never ask for those real money subs, I do still appreciate them. Thank you. Where was I? Right, so just about anything IP-wise that came out, 80s, 90s, and actually 70s as well. 70s, 80s, and 90s are really the hard ones. I don't know how to properly phrase this, but basically everything was different. No, seriously, it was a completely different era when it came to entertainment media and ownership of content. Some people, you guys may or may not even be fully cognizant of this, but one of the things that led to the video game crash back in the 80s, or I guess 81 was that? God, I don't actually remember the specific game, but you know the Atari crash, was caused because of rights issues. No, seriously. It's because the legality of rights on IPs wasn't really defined. It was such a new concept and a new idea. So, for example, let's say you make the Zeiss Glasses Wiper 5000 game. Just bear with me. So someone would look at this and be like, I'm going to make my own Zeiss Wiper game. And it's basically the same game, but I changed around the graphics, and it looks a little different now. And that happened a lot. In fact, it happened so much, it led to an overwhelming glut of the industry, which was probably the single biggest contributor towards the gaming crash of 83, apparently. 85? No, I don't think it was that late. Anyways, so rights issues kind of had to be defined pretty much on the fly. Oh, this is totally overrated. Zeiss 2 is where it's at. So rights issues had to be redefined. That means any IPs that were being developed during that time have had problems dealing with that. So you probably have noticed, like I bring up BattleTech, this has come up with Star Wars. Star Wars is actually still to this day owned by multiple companies, at least 3 that I'm aware of. There's I can't think of other examples. There are multiple examples of IPs that got started in that era where people are like, still not entirely certain who owns what. Let's bring this back to Star Control. So, the original developers of Star Control, who, by the way, are making their own Star Control spiritual successor called Ghost, I believe. I don't remember the full title, but I know it's being referred to as Ghost. So, woo. I haven't actually looked into it, so I can't say if I'm hyped or not. I just haven't had time. They want to make their own game and blah, 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 but recently, and I mean like within the last couple of weeks, they decided to go after Stardock and say, hey, you don't have the right to sell our game, our old games anymore. The old Star Controls. Now let's make this clear. Stardock has been selling those games, Star Control 1, 2, and 3, and I think there's a few others. I have to look at the whole list of games on GOG and Steam and whatever else, and their own Stardock has their own digital distribution service, and they've been selling that for 4 years now. It is worth noting that a percentage of those sales has been going to the developers of the original Star Control, the people who are now saying they don't have the right to sell it. Now, yes, it is, Roxamus. It's actually the next thing I'm bringing up. Goes to the precursors. Thank you, Lurker. So there you go. Goes. I need to look that up. I'm just going to make a note to look that up later. There we go. So, this is probably what this. I want you to look at this. I want you to understand that this is a rare example because for once, I'm going to take the side of the corporation instead of the developers here. I have actually looked into this issue. Near as I can, yeah, basically, Rascar. And near as I can tell, Stardock is completely in the right. They haven't been stealing it. Again, they have been sending portions of the money, the residuals, basically, to the developers, which is what they're supposed to do. They bought the Star Control IP years ago from Atari and are actually doing something with it. They're making the Origins game I just mentioned. And the this is one of those weird situations where I don't even understand the actual complaint the developers have here. They're already making their own game that they're doing on the side. Now, what's interesting is the developers claimed, and I'm going to stress that word, that Stardock was trying to cease and desist them for working on Ghost of the Precursors. And yet, when I actually looked into that, I couldn't find a lick of evidence about that. No actual legal filing, no actual email or sentence, no nothing. Just their claim that Stardock told them to cease and desist. So, I mean, huh? Now, this is a little bit of a murky situation because two groups of people are working on spiritual successors of the same IP at the same time. And I mean, this has actually happened several times before in gaming history as well. But I don't really get their problem on this one, to be completely blunt. And this just kind of goes to show how messed up this entire copy-wrong situation continues to be and how rights issues here in the States, at least, because this is a States issue, continue to be just this gigantic mess, which is the main reason I want to bring this up, because it's just yet another example of how rights issues are incredibly outdated and do not properly apply to situations that they should. That is true, Lurker. A cease and desist letter might not be public information. However, given that the developers claim they received one, you'd think they'd release it. Also, I should add that Stardock has officially denied that they actually sent a cease and desist. So, good morning, Aethel. So yeah, Good Old Games has decided in reaction to this to pull all of the Star Control games from Good Old Games in response to the devs saying we don't want this sold anymore. And you know, that just makes so little sense. I don't even have anything else to say on it, so I'm just going to move on. Let's just move on. Whoops, I forgot to take a timestamp for the Star Control thing. Note to self, takes timestamp for that. Card games? No, I hate card games. I despise them. Oh crap, it's over there. I can't reach. I have a deck right there. Who knows anything about Disney and Fox? Because this is the time to bring that up. Let's go and make one thing very clear about this. From our perspective, from the perspective of the viewer, of the fan, of the consumer, there's a lot of people where you look at this and it's like, sweet, you know, because they're gonna, you know, X-Men are coming home and we're gonna finally have the rest of the rights to Star Wars. Yay! I want to make it, really, Gary? I want to make it very, very clear that that is not why they're doing this, and that's not what they care about. It is entirely possible they might actually go with an X-Men thing. That depends on how well Inhumans does, which hasn't even gotten a chance to start yet. That's not for like 2 more years. No. This is not about any IPs. This is about studios. I've done a little bit of research onto this one, and I'm sorry, I'm going to try and remember as many of the facts as I can here, but what this boils down to is that this is going to move Disney into a position where they will probably subsidize Fox. I know they say it's a merger, but they're probably going to go ahead and bring Fox in as an under studio, just like they have with Touchstone, for example. There's actually quite a few Disney sub studios. I can't remember what the proper term is for that right now, but subsidiary studios, and they're going to do that as a way to try and outlet specific types of movies in order to try and cut costs for Disney themselves. Because right now, let me just give you a theoretical example. Disney could say, I want to go ahead and put forth a movie. Okay. Now Disney again is an umbrella situation. Yeah, Manchester's probably going to lose that one. Disney is an umbrella company. No, not like that. And so, if Disney as the umbrella wants to go ahead and make a movie, if Disney the umbrella doesn't make it, they push it off to either their own primary studio or one of the other subsidiary studios that they have under that. Now, that is the ideal, but under certain circumstances, they can and have, and this has happened several times in history, basically had to go through another studio to actually do the work of funding and properly developing using their studio lot. There's also a lot of physical stuff, I don't know how else better to put that will be going along with this, including the literal physical studios of Fox's primary lot, etc., etc. So this basically just adds more options to them for that and allows them to effectively use that brand in a specific outlet is how they're doing that. In other words, they've got like the Disney films, right? That's the cartoon Pixar stuff. They've got Sphear. Thank you, Charlie Waffles. Although again, never asked for those, but thank you. They've got the Disney label for those. They've got the Touchstone label for like the romance labels. They've got the I can't remember think of the other one, but they've got an action label, etc., etc. This will enable them to go ahead and have a larger market share over filmmaking, allow them to basically save money on certain types of film concepts, and there is a reasonable chance they might start sending other of their projects under the Fox label, assuming this goes through, of course. For example, it is entirely feasible that they will just start sliding the rest of Star Wars under Fox, rather than sliding Star Wars from Fox under Disney, which is something they would be able to do. Because remember, Fox actually owns partial rights on Star Wars right now, which is a big convoluted mess I don't want to talk about right now. So, now, Disney is definitely growing, and yes, this is a definite concern for having a monopoly over the movie industry. Now, let's be clear, this would not be a legal monopoly, otherwise they wouldn't even be trying it. But this would be a significant market share. In fact, if Disney is able to acquire Fox in this manner, they will have what I like to call a majority share, which means of the shares of the market that exist, theirs is the largest. Right now it's not. There's actually several other people who go after that. Now, the other concern here, so I mentioned the Inhumans thing, and I mentioned the X-Men thing. We know that right now, Disney's movie studio, specifically, is doing really well financially. Now, historically speaking, it's a merger, Mandarton, but the specific type of merger I forget the name of, and they would effectively be acquiring Fox. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just state it bluntly. Now I lost my train of thought. Historically speaking, what they're probably doing is they're noticing that they're making a lot of money on something, and so they're throwing more money into it. Now, before I say anything else, what do you think of that concept? This is making money, put more money into it. Yeah, that's why murder. For all intents and purposes, this will be Disney acquiring Fox. That's the phrasing I'm going to stick with. It does make sense within moderation. How many corporations do you know who use moderation? In general, however, this is actually almost universally a bad idea. Historically speaking from a purely economical perspective, again, ignore quality, ignore oversaturation, ignore how good the movies are, ignore if we get a good X-Men movie again, don't care, right? Pure money. Pure economics, this is the kind of thing that should not be done. Because historically, and I don't really feel like going into it, but historically speaking, and again, just from basic function of how an economy works, what you should do is if you're making money over here, you should spend that money over here. Now, there's two big reasons for this, and I'm going to summarize this as best as I can. Roximus already kind of pointed this out. This bubble can burst, and statistically speaking, it probably will. It may not burst to this, it may not be a death of the industry kind of a thing, but this will go back down to here. However, if you have spent any other money to push this industry up a little bit more, there you go. You're covered, right? Diversifying. The second reason that this is a good thing to do is because, in addition to making sure you're making money from several different things at once, historically speaking, the more money you put into a single basket from a corporation perspective, the more likely it is that idiots will get involved, and I know I'm dead serious, and will fling more money onto it, and it basically creates a snowball effect. Or, in this case, I actually prefer to call this seesaw effect, because the more you start going this way, the harder it is to go the other way. And I actually have a direct example of this kind of problem that happened. But I'm not going to give it to you because it would be long and complicated, and it happened a couple hundred years ago. So again, the biggest problem here is that and yeah, that's another thing. More money is required to exist. It's the age-old trap. You make more money, you spend more money, right? I mean, that's true even on a fundamentally personal level, right? So, yeah, tulips. So, my biggest concern about this merger is not the idea that they will, oh god, they're going after a monopoly or whatever, oh god, the quality of the games. My biggest concern is that this might be Disney trying to do what many other companies have done for the last several hundred years. I mean, even if you aren't a student of history, I almost guarantee you that every one of you out there has heard of at least one instance of the seesaw effect, of putting way too much money into something that is making money, and the problems that have happened. I guarantee you've heard of it, even if you're not even fully aware of it. There we go. Sorry. So, we'll see what happens. I am concerned, I'm not going to lie. I am hopeful that... You notice there's not even anything about a monopoly suit against this. And I point that out because they haven't quite hit that point yet. Unlike AT&T, who is still fighting that legal battle, by the way, for anybody curious. So I've got one more thing to talk about, but well, we're still in old stuff territory here. Gosh, I didn't realize I was going this long. I need to... Suddenly it's daytime. Let's go ahead and move on to talk about Star Wars, because I figure that's a good way to put this. Where are we at? One of each. This is just a really brief thing I kind of wanted to discuss with you guys. So, who out there has some HOIP? Any HOIP for... Damn it, Tigzar. For, the upcoming Star Wars trilogy. Not the one coming out this year. I haven't decided, Anthony. Not the one I'm seeing in 6 days. Yeah, at this point, I'm completely avoiding Star Wars news. Kind of have to. So, let's go ahead and mention something. Diminishing returns. It was announced too early. I'll agree with that. It was also announced with no information. You notice that? It's a new trilogy. He's the one mainlining all 3 films, and that's all we know. Until now, we actually know one more thing, which is why I'm bringing it up. The one more thing I want to bring up is the fact that it will not be set in the KOTOR era, but it was considered. Now, that's important for 2 reasons. I forget the guy's name. Could someone help me out with this guy's name? New Star Wars Trilogy. Give me a second. I'll get the guy's name. Rian Johnson. That's his name. I got there before you guys. Or is it Ryan Johnson? I have no idea how to pronounce that. Anyways, I will say one thing. He's a Star Wars geek, and I think that's a good thing. I think the good thing that the new Star Wars trilogy is being made by a pretty big Star Wars geek is a good thing. He's young, too. God. He actually talked about the KOTORs and how much he loved playing them, and how much he was legitimately considering setting it in the KOTOR era. Now, as Roxamus points out, that's one of the 2 reasons why this is interesting, because they were at least considering it. It was something that, as I like to say, was on the table. Available, possible, right? Something that they could actually consider going forward. That could be pretty promising in the future. We'll see. Now, he did say he didn't actually want to do that. He didn't want to do that, but his reasons for it are actually kind of valid, and I kind of like it. Basically, he said, I don't want to do something that's been done. I want to do a Star Wars in an era that hasn't been touched. And so, assuming he is not prevented from doing this, apparently the new Star Wars trilogy is going to be set in an era that we've never seen before. And there are actually several of those in Star Wars. I mean, there's plenty of places they can go with that. Yeah, I was going to say, we've got the Great Hyperspace War, back when we were really in the Stone Ages, so to speak, of the Star Wars galaxy. Yeah, we could also go forward. I don't actually think they're going to go forward, though, to be completely honest. There's a lot of problems with doing that. I think set prior to the prequels, which is something that's kind of... I didn't say prior. I mean, like, there's the space right before the prequels, which we've covered with that one book. And then there's the Bane stuff, but then there's a pretty big chunk in between there, which isn't really discussed all that much. We could do something there, you know. I am actually, for the first time, a little bit excited about this. You know, because I'm with most of you guys who are like, 0 expectations, no interest, blah, blah, blah. I'm a little bit excited now, just a little bit. It would be nice. Yeah, pretty much, Tigzar. From the Tor era from Tor to Bane is pretty much just empty mass of who knows what. So, who knows? It would be kind of interesting to see what he pulls out and what he tries with this. I am going to be trying to follow news on that after I see Episode 8, because I'm going to be avoiding the very words Star Wars for the next week in order to avoid spoilers. Oh, by the way, fun little fact. I'm sorry. This is funny. So Atlanta, Georgia had snow, like actual snow, for the first time in, I want to say like 4 or 5 years, which may not sound like a lot, but I mean, like, it doesn't snow in Atlanta, Georgia, right? I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy who plays Finn in Episode 7 lives in that area and was trying to fly out in order to get to the premiere showing of Episode 8, and it doesn't snow in that part of Georgia. So the airport didn't have the capacity to deal with snow. And I mean, I shouldn't actually laugh about this. It's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, it doesn't snow in Georgia. So they didn't have plows, they didn't have salt, they didn't have street sweepers, they had nothing. So he was having some significant issues flying out. I don't actually even know if he made it, because I've officially hit the point, now that the premiere has happened, I've officially hit the point where I have to avoid news. But I'm not even sure if he made it for the premiere showing of Episode 8. I hope he did. John Boyega, or whatever you say his name, is actually a pretty cool guy. I just find that hysterical. I mean, because it makes sense, right? Like, why would you buy all of this equipment and personnel and material and supplies for snow in southern Texas, right? That's another one. My aunt lives in southern Texas, and she's been like, oh my god, there's snow. It's just weird. People freaking out. I actually heard of a few people who literally refuse to go out driving in it. Now I want to stress, this is slush, okay? Not ice, not thick snow, okay? I mean, I've lived in Colorado on the base of the Rockies. I've lived in Kansas. I've lived in Northern California. That kind of snow is a joke, just to be as blunt as I can. But it amuses me to no end that so many people were like, nope, we're not driving out in that. Because there's snow out there. It's scary. Anyways, moving on. Okay. So, let's talk about new games. I still got more stuff to discuss, guys. There's been a lot of stuff happening this week. Yeah, I know, going around like 15 miles an hour, and I'm just like, come on, let's go. Of course, I have a front-wheel drive car, so snow is just a joke to me. This is not an exaggeration. I used to have to drive up 2 hills to get to work, and those hills would be coated in ice every winter. And I didn't do that every day. You kind of get used to it after a while, you know? You kind of do the angle thing, and you kind of move yourself up on the edge of the road to kind of give yourself some grip. There we go, and we're up and we're over. Every friggin' day. Anyways, so how many of you... Where's the time? Get a timestamp. Come on, Laura, wake up. How many of you... Let's talk about new stuff. How many of you like Payday? Not the game series, not being paid. See, I remember freaking out the first time I saw snow. I was also 6. I've heard some good things about the Payday series. I've never actually gotten into it. I have no idea if it's still active or not, to be completely honest. But I do know that the developers behind Payday are making a Walking Dead game. In fact, that's being announced in like 45 minutes, whatever it is. I wish I had a little bit more time, availability to talk about it, but basically, they're making a Walking Dead game. It's being announced in 45 minutes. He did. Awesome, Pico. Thank you for checking that for me. I'm glad he made it. See you around next time. Honestly, that is my biggest concern. I don't know about you guys. When I first thought, you know, Payday, Walking Dead, my first thought was Left 4 Dead. Like, just first thought. Then I was like, wait, they already have Left 4 Dead. I mean, it's even good. Like, I enjoy Left 4 Dead 2 to this day. So it's like, I wonder what they're going to do with this, you know? And I'm not sure. I don't actually know how they're going to do anything with it. Or what they're going to do with it. So, I don't know. Game I'm looking forward to most next year. Megaman 11. I don't have anything else to share about this, except for the fact that I find it interesting that there haven't really been a lot of Walking Dead games. Like, we've only really had the 3, right? Or am I misremembering that? I mean, obviously we have the Telltale stuff, and then there's that mobile one, which I can't remember the name of. And then there's this one, and that's it. So... And I find it interesting because Walking Dead has been so ludicrously popular. Like, the number of... the amount of support for the comic has been through the roof. It's still selling like hotcakes to this day. The base show is still going, even though I've heard people are starting to slide off in popularity on that one. Survival Instincts. That's the other one I was thinking of. So I've been on those 4. I haven't actually played Payday, by the way. I've heard really good stuff about it. I've just never gotten into it, so that's why I was kind of asking the other question. Anyways, it's just interesting because, I mean, if we get a kind of, like, I've often said that the only real good thing, for lack of a better way to put that, about The Walking Dead as an IP is the human stories, right? In other words, that I can put up with The Walking Dead because it's not a zombie show, right? It's a show about people who also happens to include zombies as the environmental threat. And I'm okay with that. But I have to admit, making a game that isn't a Telltale game set in something like that is interesting of a dilemma. And I'm hopeful that this does not turn into another just go kill zombies games. We have hundreds, actually no, we have thousands of go kill zombies games. We even have really, really good go kill zombies games. And I can't think of the name of one of the franchises, but I really enjoy the second one, which is on the PS2, I want to say. Hang on. I can't think of it today. Kills zombies games. What do we got here? No, not Dying Light. No. Dead Rising. Dead Rising 2 is specifically the one I was thinking of. Actually, I guess that was on the PC, not the PSP. Sorry, PS4. PS3, excuse me. Anyways, you know, so I'm hopeful this doesn't just turn into another zombie killing game. Of course I am, Gribble. There's basically no Telltale games I'm not playing at this point. I just wait for them all to be out. That's my one requirement. That's true, Leander. Actually, that sounds kind of cool. Having a thing where... So, okay, picture like an instance of like a township, and they've got like a crude barricade around it, right? And your goal is to get in there and get as many supplies as you can and then get out, right? I have no idea, Gribble. And so it's like, okay, Roximus, I need you to go over there and run up in front and just kind of make a lot of noise and pretend you're... No, I've got it. Better idea. Bragwin, you go up and just talk to the people in the settlement. Try to kind of, you know, interact with them, talk with them. And then Roximus, you run up and then, like, make a bunch of noise on the other side to get the zombies to attack over there. And so Bragwin will volunteer to help. In order to get in good, get reputation or whatever with these people, and then she'll go help fight off the zombies. And just in case Bragwin doesn't actually succeed at this, me and I don't know, Takoida will sneak in the back while they're distracted with the zombies to try and raid some supplies. And if it turns out we end up working out together, we'll go and give some of the supplies back. Maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out. You know, stuff like that sounds cool to me. We'll see what they do with it. Let's talk about LCGs. Now, LCG is a term... LCG is a term coined by Fantasy Flight Games. Now, I imagine a lot of you have actually heard of Fantasy Flight Games. You might not have played anything they've put out. They've put out a bunch of games that if you're a board game geek or a card game geek, you probably are like, oh, yep. And if you're not, you're probably like, who? Back here, give me a second. Let's just get a list here. Come on. Here we go. Okay, so let's see. Well, they've put out Netrunner. I'm sure at least some of you have heard of that one. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh, they put out a lot. Arkham Horror is them. Which is filled with lots of fear. Thank you so much, Dreadlord Loki. As ever, those Twitch Prime subs are super, super useful and helpful. They put out Battle Lore. Anybody who played that? They put out... What's ones that you guys might have heard of? Civilization, the board game, was them. Condottiere is them. You've heard of that one. Descent, that's them. Dungeon Quest, which is basically Dungeons & Dragons Light. Eldritch Horror, Eldritch Sign... Kingdoms, Mansions of Madness. There's a bunch. They've actually put out a lot of board games. Like I said, if you were a board game geek, I guarantee you've heard of them. If you're not, then you might have heard of them. The relevant part, though, is that they are putting out a new LCG, which I don't even remember what they... Hang on, what do they call that? Living card games is what they call that. So there's... yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the Star Wars board game people. They also did the StarCraft one, for anybody who cares about that. So a CCG is a collectible card game, okay? Magic the Gathering. You know, easy, right? Hearthstone. You know what that is. An LCG is a little bit different because an LCG is different in its distribution method of getting cards to you. You still have the cards, you still build the deck, you still play the game, but rather than buying boosters or boxes or whatever, they sell you an expansion. And this just has, I actually have a list here, about 165 or so cards. And this is your cards to pull from to make a deck. And it's the whole expansion. You just have it. Boom, it's right here. And if you want more copies of that, you do have to go buy more expansions. Whether you prefer an LCG or a CCG is very much up to opinion and debate. I'm not going to put any judgment on that. I just wanted to describe what an LCG is in comparison, okay? So, they're putting out a Lord of the Rings LCG. And it looks good. In fact... In fact, my fear... Oh, God. Is... I'm going to stop doing that. My throat's still hurting me. Thank you very much, Dragonfruit. As ever, those Twitch Prime subs are very, 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 very helpful. Okay. Are you going to give it to me? There it is. So this is actually coming out in a couple weeks. It is an LCG, blah, 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 blah. I really wish I was at Gen Con this year. They actually showed it off. Regardless, so it's a Lord of the Rings LCG. I've kind of already said you're going to be taking part of one of the great clans of the Rokugan, excuse me. No, hang on. This doesn't look right. I think I'm looking at the wrong thing. God damn it. I am looking at the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Hang on. Give me a second. Let me verify. I just found out about this morning, so you're going to have to give me a second. Incredibly professional lore runner. Oh yeah, by the way, the PlayStation Experience happened. That's all I'm saying about that. Just nothing else to say about it. Oh my god, I was just looking at it this morning. Do I have to actually pull up my search history to do this? I pull in news from like 10 different sites, so I don't always remember where I read RUT. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Sorry. So I am right. It is Lord of the Rings. It is a living card game. It is a video game, not a physical one. And for those of you not aware, as someone in chat just said, Venters, there was actually a Lord of the Rings LCG back in 2011. This is a video game. It's going to be called The Lord of the Rings Living Card Game. Yay. It is going to be based on the LCG from 2011. And it looks kind of awesome. And this is coming out at some point? Hang on a second. It's not going to tell me in this thing. Whatever, it's coming out soonish. You can already see some of it in the trailers and the release stuff. And it just looks really, really cool. I don't know what else to add about that. It looks really cool. I just wanted to share that because I love that kind of thing. And I also kind of like LCGs in general. Moving on. Let's talk about another new game that's coming out. I haven't even got a chance to play it, Trayfin. I have had no internet. I know I could have done it on my phone, but I'm not going to play Hearthstone on frickin' LTE or whatever. They're actually still... Really, Dragonfruit? That's actually funny. I guess it's selling well, then. I actually have never had a chance to play the actual physical LCG. I've played several of their LCGs, though. They have a Warhammer one. Warhammer 40k one, excuse me. And a Star Wars one that I've played. So, timestamp. Anybody ever play Spore? Like what, Larian? Oh, a legacy. I understand what you mean by that. Which one? Now, let me go ahead and say something really unpopular. Super mega unpopular. I'm just going to drop the bomb here. You ready for this? I loved Spore. Not liked. Loved. I clocked in several hundred hours in Spore. It does get shallow eventually. I basically reached the point where I no longer had anything to do in it. I effectively completed the game. But, yeah, that's what I was looking at by accident, Adventures, and I got confused on that, sorry. But I did really love Spore. In fact, I loved most of Spore. Probably the only part of Spore that I didn't enjoy was the civilization stage. Partially because I've already played Civ games, and partially because it was by far the weakest of the various phases of the game. But I enjoyed the RTS section. No, Ventures. I enjoyed the Beast section a lot. Probably my favorite section was the Beast section. The Creature stage. Thank you. And I really enjoyed the Water section, the 2D section. That's what I'm here for, Blue Wolf Alex. Seriously, that's the whole point of the exploration thing. Races. I made so many races. I actually would do this thing where I would go ahead and play a race to the Space Age, save, and then go make another race and play to the Space Age, save, and do this over and over until basically the whole galaxy was populated by my own stuff, which I thought was actually really cool. Because I'm a geek. What do you want from me? Anyways, getting back to my point, there is a game coming out that isn't quite Spore, but it's the closest thing to a spiritual successor to Spore I've ever seen. It's called Deiland, and it's spelled D-E-I-L-A-N-D. Deiland is a pseudo-survival RPG set on planets. And when I say planets, I mean like Mario Galaxy planets. I mean like a planet where if you jump just a little bit too high, you're probably going to go into the atmosphere. You know what I mean? I have to admit, seeing yet another survival game just kind of makes me groan a little bit at this point because there's so many. But to this day, I still actually enjoy the concept of a properly done survivalist game. And adding in strong RPG elements and adding in this whole space exploration, going from planet to planet kind of a thing, sounds cool. It does remind me a little bit of Starbound, I want to say, which was the 2D Minecraft in space game. But I wanted to at least signal boost this one now. To my knowledge, this game doesn't even have a release date at this point. They're still kind of thinking about it, working about it. But it looked interesting enough to catch my attention. And I wanted to mention that to you guys. For anybody who is interested or curious, I'm going to be keeping an eye on it myself and seeing if it develops into something actual or relevant. Well, I don't know exactly yet, Micromano. To be clear, everything I saw of it looked Spore-like, but we know so little about it that I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be a full Spore game yet. But there were implications and mentions of things like generational exploration or trying to stretch out into different planets or whatever. June 8th, really? That's new. June 2018 apparently is a release date. I'm not that. Grain of salt. It's a Kickstarter game, by the way. I should be upfront about that. So yeah. Anyways, and the last game I'm going to talk about is not a game I'm going to talk about. Tired of talking. I refuse. Never talking ever again. It's going to be the Mute Runner show from now on. You okay with that, guys? No, I have not. So I don't actually like the Monster Hunter series. I know Megaman's going to be in it. Actually, let's just go down here. We'll do it here. Well, apparently silly me. Actually, no, not the Zelda DLC. But, so, anybody who knows me knows that I've been kind of following Square Enix for $30 years? Something like that. Square in general. And so there's a few games that Square's putting out soon. I mentioned the SaGa series earlier. There's a new SaGa game coming out, which is... God, I can't think of its freaking name, but it looks... Octopath Traveler. That's it, Octopath Traveler. Which looks kind of awesome, and I played the demo of it, and I actually really liked the demo. Like, obviously, it was flawed. It did have some issues. It was not a perfect thing, but it was a huge net positive experience for me. So I'm pretty excited about that. But during that demo, and in a few things after, I was actually talking with Mike over in Dark Pixel about this as well. There was another game they were putting out, which I knew nothing about. Like, all I knew is that it was made by the team who made I Am Setsuna in the same style of I Am Setsuna. Now, for those of you who didn't see my premiere run of I Am Setsuna, I didn't like it. I, overall, really didn't enjoy it. It had some decent moments, but, God, the combat was awful, and the leveling system was grindy as crap, and the music actually started to irritate me after a while. So... anyways, so now there's a demo out. Now, apparently this demo is out on multiple platforms. I didn't even check, to be completely honest with you, because the only only console I have hooked up to the internet with the new router we've got going is the Switch. Yes, FM Nito, I'm going to do a Legion. Why does everyone ask me about a Legion lore run? Why would I not do a Legion lore run? Yes, I'm doing a Legion lore run. No, I'm not doing it right now. Legion's not done yet, and I still have a lot of stuff to record. So, Lost Sphear. Yeah, sure, let's play voices. Why not? When Legion is done, and when I have it all done, I will announce it well in advance. Hello. There's some lost points here, so let's create some artifacts. Okay, that's... I know Square Enix likes En Medias Res, but Jesus! Just... let's go make some stuff here. On the world map, you'll find lost points that need to be restored. Use memories in exactly 3 seconds, Nerzos. Use memories at lost points to create relics known as artifacts. Artifacts can be used to change the rules of battle or influence the course of adventures. Artifacts can be at the same point as any number of times. Create artifacts to restore life points to gain advantage in your adventure. What should we make? Well, the Twilighters are apparently skilled in the use of magic. Perhaps something that would lower magic power would be good. That seems fine for one of them. Keep in mind, artifacts affect everyone on the battlefield. What should we do with the other lost points? We don't have to decide about the others right now, do we? Nope. We can rewind the dialogue. That's actually kind of cool. Not many games do this, and more should. Hello. There we go. Why don't we wait until we find out what we can make? Good idea. Alright, let's go to the first lost point then. Which is over here. Nope, that's just loot. Sorry. Yeah, honestly, the dialogue options are already probably a plus. What do we got here? So there's us. We have ability, magic power, physical strength, mental strength, and recovery. Those are weird stats. So, James Carmichael, I was about a second away from banning you before I realized you were joking. We're kind of in a hard lock on spoilers right now because people are dicks, so be warned. Don't joke about that. That's for all of you, not just him, obviously. Okay, so experience, HP, MP, next level. Apparently we have weapons and armor. And I don't know what the guy below is. What the hell are those robot-looking things? I mean, okay, so ability? Ability could mean a lot. I don't know what's up with that. Physical strength is obvious. Mental strength is obvious. Magic power is obvious. Recovery? Also, notice we have VP in the lower right. No, I know you wouldn't, James Carmichael. I'm just saying, I'm used to banning very, very quickly to avoid spoilers for people. I've had to do that several times on my stream. So if I see Star Wars or Snoke or anything like that, I just reach for the mouse and hit the ban button. Like I said, I caught myself there. That's why I'm warning you, because I'm trying to be as quick about that as possible. Anyways, you know what? I feel like renaming this character. Who wants to be the main character? Well, my usual role is third, so Anthony gets it. And just for the hell of it, we'll do some others here. I mean, who would name a character Vaughn? That's just ridiculous. We'll make you Nero's as. And looks like Roximus was second. I'm not going to make you the girl, though, just to be nice. Do we have any females on right now? Oh no, I'm just not talking about it, Nito, because I don't want to spoil in an unrelated title, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't a WoW stream, and so I don't want to spoil things about WoW in an unrelated stream, if that makes any sense. Oh, that's true. Okay, Valvedrix and Larian, and anyone else who is female. Duke it out for the one female slot. I actually have to be right back. I'm just going to grab a drink super quick. So, guess a number between 1 and 15 for the slot. Okay, I'm back. Did literally no one guess a number? Seriously? Really, guys? Really? No. Oh, looks like I missed something. Oh! I did. I didn't even have my headphones on. Thank you. Thank you, Shadow Machine. Alright. I will name you... Since it already starts with an L, we'll do Larian. And I know I can rename my numbers weapon guys down there too, but nah. Okay, so items, potion... Phoenix tears. Those poor phoenixes. Nobody loves you. Volco suits are apparently what use VP. Oh my god, it's Chrono. No, seriously, he's got wind attacks. He's got Cyclone. Come on. What else we got here? Equipment. And Sprit Knight. I don't even know what to make of that, so I'm not going to touch it yet. Come on in. Come on in. I'm sorry, BRB. God damn it. Sorry. That was me being invited to lunch. I'm going without lunch. Oh, hey. Actual, like, separate audio selectors. Which doesn't get a plus. Because it should be in everything.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So what do we got here? We got weight and active, memory, battle movement, yes, fast, English, or French, German, or I believe Japan. I don't know what they're having for lunch. You'll have to ask them. Okay. Also, moon memory is a thing. And we have massifs? I don't know what those are. Alright, let's make a memory thing. Let's see how this works. See you around, Blue Wolf Alex. Okay. So, looks like in order to create this stuff we need parts. Different types of memories. Looks like they gave us a bunch. So this gives more items, increased physical attack, and decreased magical attack. See mini-maps on the world map. Show enemies' HP and ATB during battle. The more distance traveled in a turn, the greater number of momentum charge. Interesting. Increase crit when activating momentum mode, or increased attack power when landing a critical hit. I sure hope this isn't Xenogears. Nobody likes Xenogears, let's be honest. And I noticed some of these can stack. So let's go ahead and do this one. Yggdrasil. Or Yggdrasil, depending on who you ask. Wait, no! I don't give it. Ah! Fear! Thank you, Pyro. I do appreciate it. I really do. Those Twitch Prime subs are what I like to call mega useful. No matter how many times I see you do that, it impresses me still. My gratitude knows no bounds, Anthony. Right. Let's make for Sacred Rahet. So I guess we're painting in the world? I mean, given Xenogears' setting, that kind of makes sense. Yes, there's been a great deal of fear today. Alright, so here we are in an actual battle area. We can use VP to boost, while active movement speed increase, and you can avoid battles while moving. Which I can't use, which sucks, but it looks like a built-in ink nun kind of a thing. Can you see that? The road is blocked? Yeah, I'm gonna see what happens if you fast forward. Oh my gosh. So you just hold it down like this. And it goes through it very quickly. Speedrunners are gonna love that. Also, there's party chat. The Twilighters, are they really making the Lost phenomenon happen? Remember, Anthony, this is a battlefield. I wish to fortify. With Sprit Knight, apparently. Which will increase stats. Oh, hey. Now we're playing Xenogears. So here's the Ink Nun mode, which is also a sprint. Looks like it uses 10 and doesn't last all that long either. Let's see if VP regenerates. Doesn't look like it. Sorry, my throat's killing me, so I'm not going to read all of those. Apologies. Also, apparently resistance is futile. I don't know, Toyota. Ugh. People just teleporting in now. The nothing. Ah, your blade has been blocked by something that's been lost. I mean... that's an interesting thing to be blocked by. An absence, you know? Anthony, is it? You're the key to this mission. If you can't do what they say you can, we got a problem. You hear me? We're gonna kill you in the face because you're a Nazi. So, what? Really? Okay, so we need to kill monsters because the monsters contain memories of the places that are lost. Which, from a gameplay perspective, gives you an actual reason to kill rather than just leveling, but from a lore perspective, why do the monsters remember and not people? What? Sorry. Yep, that's nice. Okay.
これで私に任せろ。この程度。
Oh, there we go. Okay. I was about to say, one of my biggest complaints about the game, about I Am Setsuna, was you couldn't actually maneuver on the battlefield. This is how you maneuver. So you can't actually maneuver when it's not your turn. But when it is your turn, you can choose where you're going to go, and it'll show you your attack range, so you can more properly judge. So I can, for example, have Roxaimus come up here and do this. And miss, because he's terrible. Now I have it set to wait, but there's also an action. So she just attacks one thing, so let's just surround this guy here. Anthony is also a single attack, so we'll put him over there. So I got a loving memory, a devoted memory, an ore memory, a stone memory, a control memory, a halt memory, a durable memory, an aesthetic memory. Jeez Louise. I remember many things now. Is anyone else having trouble hearing me right now? I'm leaning a little bit further back. I'm also having trouble talking because my throat hurts. So apparently, these two commanders, one of which is in our party and the other which is the guy here, are fighting over who gets to have us in their party. So what about the game is loud? Help me out, guys. Yeah, but what about the combat? Because... What? No. So I can turn stuff down. So, okay, music.
Yeah! Yeah, 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 yeah!
There you go. No. That's nice. I know they're calling them paradigms instead of dual text, but that's what those are. Damn it. Switch. Yeah, sure, we'll do that one. Judgment. I do know exactly what you mean, Dakota, and I actually agree. Not super impressed right now.
僕の番だね。聞かないよ。もう十分だね。
行くよ。
行くぞ。
もういいか
いつでも行ける。
聞かないよ。
よし、ここまで。負けてられん。豪華焼き尽くせ。
I don't even know if Lost Sphear is in the options.
さすがやるじゃない。
俺も行くぞ。やれ。いやはや老骨には答える。
Bunch of loving memories from that one. And durable memories, and mind memories, and halt memories, and sublimation memories. Okay, there are too many memories in this game. I'm just saying. If I recall, I Am Setsuna also had the lack of doodads problem. Which is funny because they kept talking about how they were using Chrono Trigger as an inspiration. Chrono Trigger had fantastic doodad placement. So, yeah. I don't know.
行くよ。
Okay, this is harder to aim than it looks. There we go.
いける。
俺がやる。やるな。
てい。
負けてられん。
What? No, attack. Can I not change targets? Oh, whatever, that'll do, I suppose.
これで。
No, I agree. I mean, using this in 3D looks really bare bones.
いつでも行ける。
I agree. Would you believe doodads is actually not my term, it's Blizzard's.
さすがやるじゃない。やれる。
Like, seriously, look up a screenshot of,
僕の番だね。
you know, Chrono Trigger, for example. There's stuff that helps flesh out the world to make it look more real or more believable. It's stuff that you generally shouldn't notice. In fact, it is designed for you not to notice.
勝ててよかったよ。
I started noticing when I started dabbling in terrain and level design myself, and I noticed that all my levels and terrains looked really, really boring because even though there was all this, you know, the terrain was correct, like I had done that part of it, it just looked empty because I hadn't added anything to it, right? Kind of like this. There's rocky walls, sandy ground, and so far that's kind of it, other than enemies and interactables. Okay, here, this is the first time we've seen anything approaching doodads, and it's those little holes in the wall. It's funny because a lot of people have also complained that I Am Setsuna, the previous game to this one, had way too much of the sameness when it comes to the terrain. You know, everything was snow. Not until I noticed how plain it was, Anthony, no. Although, I also am pretty terrible at doodad placement. That's also another reason why I appreciate it so well. Proper doodad placement really, really fleshes out a game for me. It's the kind of thing I will just gush about. You want a game with really, really, really good doodad placement? Zelda Twilight Princess. That game has amazing design to its rooms and its worlds and its dungeons and everything. So why are we killing these guys? Oh, Nira's ass is out of the party. No, I'm kidding. We'll leave Roximus out of the party. Because he's not even here! Agreed, Leander. I've seen snowy places that look good. In fact, I hate to use Blizzard games again as an example, but look at some of the more well-designed Blizzard zones. In fact, God, I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. Frostfire Ridge, I want to say, was a good example of a really well-designed snowy terrain.
やれるはあ
やるな
押してまいれ
僕も続くよ
That's interesting. So, left analog does this, right? And so I can use this to move and aim. But if I'm having trouble and I want to be like just to the left of them, I could do this, and then I use the right analog just to tilt like this.
やるな僕た
行け
続いてガンガン行くわよ
帰れ
行くよトリ
ああ俺がやる
You dead yet? Jesus. Just submit to the will of the Empire. God.
勝ててよかったよ
If you would stop resisting, I would stop killing you. If you're gonna kill us, just get on with it. We won't forget this humiliation. Ever! Yeah, but we didn't kill you. Yeah, I know, Leander. Like I said, the I Am Setsuna music legitimately started to bother me. And the longer it played, the worse it got.
あだなつ者は容赦しない
No offense to anyone who likes piano music, but nothing but piano music just gets to me after a while.
その調子さ
続いてガンガン行くわよ
No. This one.
はー
Ah, okay. That's how I do that. Ah, it looks like I can't. Oh, that's she's not even in the fight, that's why. Okay, whatever.
やれ
やるな僕も続くよ
Also, maybe it's just me. I'm having trouble even really picking out details in this. You know what I mean?
私が行こう
行くぞ
僕の番だ
Like,
ね
I couldn't tell you what any of my characters look like, except that that guy has some kind of mirror things.
どうして
旅の邪魔はしないでほしいんだけどな
We live in harmony with the monsters for our own survival. How others relate to monsters is their problem, not ours. Well, I mean, we are conquering you, for some reason. Yeah, I mean, Dakota already made the comparison, but I think I agree. This really does look like a 3DS game. For good and for bad. Mostly bad. Just to be blunt. So, you're Sodus, huh? We came all this way to capture you, rebel scum. I am General Arnis himself. Some call me the Stormbringer. That's not what I was asking. Anyway, this isn't fair. We had a deal. Huh? A deal? What are you talking about? You had a deal with the Imperial Command. Enough of your jabbering. I don't know what you're talking about, but Lord Zemrod's orders were clear. Kill those people I'm working with to hide my own complicity. Damn. I'm going to capture every last one of you Twilighters. Wait, just listen to me, please. I won't waste my time listening to you, scum. Coward uses monsters and caused the Lost phenomenon and ruined lives. The Emperor will judge you for your crimes. And I, General Arnis, will punish you. Yeah, no kidding, Leander. That man is the ring. That was a guy? Now, I know I'm a little bit biased on this one, and I am, because I tend to prefer games that go for an aesthetic rather than quality of graphics. Because, I mean, historically speaking, those are the games that continue to look good years later. My personal favorite example of that is to go all the way back to Link to the Past, which was, what, 92? That game looks good now. Not great, there's issues with it, but it went for a unique aesthetic which has endured. And it doesn't just have to be sprite work, obviously. Hate to use Zelda as an example again, but Wind Waker aged way better than Twilight Princess, for example. In fact, I would say Wind Waker looks better than pretty much any Zelda up to the HD re-releases or Breath of the Wild. And yeah, Super Metroid, another excellent example. There are quite a few different games which go for that aesthetic and still look great. Although I've also said that making sure that everything is nice and clearly distinct is a really important thing, too. And that's another problem I'm having. And I want to know if anybody else is having this problem in chat. Because, like, it's not like I'm blind because there's nothing else to look at, but a lot of this is blurring together in my eyes right now. I see brown, kind of light orangish brown, brown, dark brown. You know what I mean? And if I actually pause to look at it, like for example, the sprites are actually decently distinct. But they're so small. Like if I actually bother to focus on Blackrobe guy there, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see. He's even got decent animation going. You can see like there's something hovering over his hands. I don't mean the mirrors. He's got another thing there. And he's got actual shadows for the mirrors, and he's got actual individually animating hair. And it's this dinky little thing. Yes? Oh. Careful. This. Don't worry, I have heater on.
Finally decided it was cold?
Yes. Ooh, thank you. Yay. Look, guys, it's...
Lamb chop.
Lamb chop.
Rice.
Rice.
And tomato salad.
What are these?
It's cheese.
Mmm, cheese. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh. Chat will probably say hi in about a minute.
Hi in about a minute.
Ugh. But yeah, I mean, I hate to nitpick this, but the camera angle is bad. The camera angle, I know this sounds weird, but it's too far out. And if you don't, and I know that sounds weird because I'm the kind of person who I get claustrophobic if the camera's too close. But with how small everything is, it's hard to really distinguish anything. Like I'm seeing something bigger than you are. I'm seeing the whole preview pane, and I'm having trouble seeing what I'm looking at here. I don't know. I think more than anything, what I'm reminded of is Bravely Default. You know what I mean? Except I don't think Bravely Default zoomed the camera out this far. I don't know. I'd have to go pull up my 3DS and see if that's true or not. And like earlier I made that comment, that was a guy? I was saying that jokingly, but at the same time, I legitimately could not tell the gender of that entity. God, I hate this, but I mean, I'm not really that impressed with this so far. The combat is a definite step up from I Am Setsuna. I will absolutely give it that. Oh. Yep, come on, advance. Yeah. Uh-oh. Sodus is secretly the traitor. I liked the overworld look. This, yeah, I don't like this at all. I know, right, Dakota? Oh, hey, Roxanne joins the party again. Please don't resist. Can't you just surrender? God, we don't want to hurt you. You'll all pay for defiling this holy place, Rahet! Which I'm saying because you might not know the name of the place otherwise. Looks like we'll have to fight. Get ready. So this is a threat encounter instead of a side encounter. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I have a feeling it means I can't run from a threat encounter, but I can run from a side encounter. I should test that next time I have a side encounter. That's true, Lurker. And you'll notice this area is probably the first area to really have a decent doodad placement. It's not great, it's still a nice big open center, but I mean, you can see the ruined walls and the edges and the pots, and there's actually a well on the left. You can see the bucket on that well on the left is actually kind of hovering over it like that. Oop, right, I should probably actually be playing the game. 'Cause I'm getting wrecked right now, Jesus. Oh, Jesus! Fear? Thank you, Permeus. Thank you very, very much. Oh, I got charmed. No wonder I'm dying. Well, time to see how the auto save works. Jesus Christ. And then all hope was lost from the world. Gee! No autosave. Okay. Well, I'm committed, so whatever. That's possible, Lurker? Yeah, come on. Come on. Yeah, there we go. You know, that's... Takoida was talking about a pet peeve of his. Can I mention a pet peeve of mine? It actually irritates me when a developer says, we need to make an older style game, and they insist on making it with older philosophy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind a game in the old style, but do it with modern techniques, modern ideas, concepts, technology, you know? In fact, let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 were classic Mega Man games made with modern philosophy. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. That's what I want. But then some games will do the bad controls, the clunky UI, the lack of convenience features, etc., etc. And we've had like 40-ish years of game development to get past this kind of stuff, you know? Now, I'm not really accusing this game of doing that. In fact, this game actually has a lot of convenience features, as we're showcasing. You know, the fast forward and all that, the rewind on the text, the different audio balances. That's all good stuff. But I was reminded of it because of the lack of autosaves. Yeah, Shovel Knight is another excellent example of a modern Mega Man game. So this is a preemptive encounter. That's nice, that's nice, that's nice. Funny you bring that up, Jaquetta. I was going to say Octopath Traveler is another good example of a modern, older game. Although, as you point out, they didn't always do the high sprite work. But they did. Oh yeah, Sonic Mania. That's another good example of a modern, older game. Lamb. That's great. Yep. Kinda already did this. I'll check. Yes and yes, respectively. 12 points for you. I have to admit, I'd be inclined to do a sprite work game if I had a choice. But that's because I'm actually pretty good at sprite work. I have no idea how to do 3D rendering at all. And of course, I'd probably not be doing the graphics, so who knows. I have to admit, I'm not super impressed with the battle system so far. Sure, 12 points, why not? But I don't actually decide what I do videos on. Also, I've done a video on Planescape Torment. There's that. I'm just kind of mashing A at this point, I gotta be honest. Yeah, I'm getting the same feeling compared to Disco. Again, the combat was easily my biggest complaint about I Am Setsuna. It was so bad I actually refused to continue playing the game without cheating, if you'll remember. And it takes a lot for me to insist on cheating through a game that, you know, isn't for a lore run or whatever. I know you all call me the cheat runner, but I don't actually like having to cheat in a game to enjoy it. That's not good. I would go so far as to say that that's actively bad. That's fine. Probably doesn't help that for the most part, the attacking and the balancing of movement here doesn't actually matter. Like for the lion guy, sure. And for him, sure, because he's got this area thing going on. But for the other two, they have this dinky little attack area, which can hit two people. Hang on, I forgot to check. It doesn't sound different to me. I'll check it. Because I've got the headphone thing going on. Apparently it did. Oh, Rogue Galaxy was such a cheesy game. You know there's only one part of Rogue Galaxy I actively didn't like. Can you guess what it is, Leander? I usually am of the mindset that if you're going to try something, you should commit to it. Doing a half-and-half thing has worked, but statistically speaking, doing a half-and-half thing is always going to be harder than just committing to something, you know? Because most likely what you're just going to do is round up with something that doesn't appeal to either audience, right? So, to finish my long diatribe here, I agree. I think they should have just committed to going full tactical and committed to... And committed to, or excuse me, committed to going ahead and just making it, you know, a standard JRPG combat system. This in-betweeny thing just feels... I don't see a notification about that lurker. Not counting the giant loud thing that just popped up. Which obviously doesn't count. Oh, and sorry, I wasn't actually referring to Rebel Galaxy. Or Rogue Galaxy. God, is it Rogue Galaxy or Rebel Galaxy? There's one that's a JRPG, and then there's one that's a freelancer game. And they couldn't have anything more they have nothing to do with each other, other than the fact that they happen to have very, very similar names. But the one I am thinking of is the JRPG one. Okay, so Rogue Galaxy is the RPG. Okay, so yes, Rogue Galaxy is the game I'm thinking of. So basically everything about the last boss and the Emperor thing at the end and the insane queen and just... basically everything about the finale and the last boss was not only weird, but actively gross. Other than that, though, good game. I actually rather enjoyed it. Oh, I would also say that the crafting system was a little bit ludicrous. Just a little bit. Anyways, thank you, then, 12-Point Courier, for proxy support. We'll call it proxy support. I think that works. Oh no, I have to make the treasure chest exist. With a mine memory. Get it? 'Cause it's mine! Ooh, equipment. All I'm going to say about the crafting kit system in Rogue Galaxy is it got to the point where I had to start mapping things out on a pen and paper. I mean, I don't know what else to add to that, you know? Oh, I guess I need to go this way now. You are insane, Leander. Oh yeah, I'll need to save after a bit here. Well, as I've said many times, the definition of grind is that you don't enjoy it, so if you enjoyed it... Alright, and now, the mythical door. What did we ever do to you? I'm just following orders. Wait, are we Nazis? We're doing the right thing here, aren't we? Yeah, we're attacking people who've literally never done anything to us. On the orders of someone who won't even explain himself. I'm pretty sure we're definitely doing the right thing here, guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure the skulls on our hats gave away how much of a good guy we are. That's true, Max Time. I will never save. Fine, here, save. You know what's funny, Baron Disco? I'm actually, I'd say lobbied. Liked the idea of, for lack of a better way to put it, less fantasy RPGs. Like, there's that Roman RPG, which I think is actually out right now. Which just sounds interesting to me, because it's a Roman RPG. You know, historical RPG. I'm a little weirded out that we don't get more of those. Yeah, having a straight modern thing would be good too. Instead of, I don't mean to call it out, but instead of like Persona, for example, which is modern except super fantasy, right? Honestly, that's one of the things I liked about Expedition Vikings. I really hope I get to finish that soon. Cutscene. Blood up, blood up. Sorry. Slowly eating my lunch here as I catch back up to myself. Wild Arms was Wild West themed in the same way that Firefly was. Hey Tech. This is the Lost Sphear demo. And so far I'm not actually all that impressed. We'll see what happens after I beat this boss, assuming I do. I will give credit where credit is due. This is definitely better than I Am Setsuna's combat. So, yay. Pro tip, anytime you're in a video game and the people you are fighting beg you to spare their wives and daughters, you're probably playing the bad guys. It's okay. You'll turn to the good guy's side rather than stay on the bad guy's side, so don't worry. I mean, honestly, a straight-up grid combat system might work for something like this. So yeah, something frankly more tactical, yeah. Excuse me. Yes, that's the one marker. Age of Decadence. Okay, so now... So what do we got here? Crit boost, the last attack. Mechas might be useful in combat. I don't know. I was having a really hard time understanding the mecha stuff earlier, to be completely honest. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, that'd be awesome, Leander. We've already seen a couple games kind of like that, but not really. Ah, damn it. Oh, there's that frickin' charm effect. Notice we have cooldowns on abilities, by the way, in addition to MP cost, by the way. Oh, you did, Wilson! Dude! Awesome! I am so premiere running that whenever I have a chance to. Is that even out yet? I don't know its actual release date. Can I get both? I can't get both. There we go. Alright, hang on. Yeah, stop being mind controlled. Please. Yeah, exactly, Leander. Well, I've already lost one guy. Jesus Christ. 2 guys. It's worth noting I'm actually trying this time. Just that charm attack she does is crazy. Alright, let's see what this does. Nothing. It said it would change the terrain. But it didn't. So. Okay, that can't be right. I thought the Roman thing was coming out recently. Oh, I guess Age of Decadence was it? I'm just weirded out, because I heard about Age of Decadence like a few weeks ago. For the first time. I'm not saying that I didn't miss out on it, I'm just saying that I'm kind of weirded out here. Totally got this, guys. And I'm dead. But the future refused to change. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time, and then we're going to give up. Okay, I literally can't walk into a fight as a mech. That means I have to burn my first turn becoming a mech. Okay. No. Okay, looks like it only puts their time down to half if you do that, so that's not terrible. It's not as bad as it could have been. Not good. Hey, little boy. It's a new Heroes of the Storm game. I hope you like it. Okay, so what do we got here? You know what? Sure, whatever. Just kill that thing. Okay, when I saw 18 hits, I kind of figured it meant more than 8 damage each. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty much the exact same developers that made I Am Setsuna. Let's assume these Earth guys are weak to air. I have no idea, but you know, whatever. Okay, we've actually killed somebody. And died in the process. What? Fine. Yeah, I noticed the machine kill thing there. US gun. And yeah, this is technically still part of Loreweek. I haven't changed the local recording. You son of a... Well used. And... Oh, yeah. Very soon. Meanwhile, the actual boss is healing, while my own people are killing me. Jeez, that's a terrible heal. But it's an AoE heal, and that's kind of what I needed. Oh my god! She just hit my entire party for 130. And she's about to do it again. Well, that's Lost Sphear, ladies and gentlemen. Not impressed. I'm not. I'm sorry. This is the kind of game I'd probably skip if I was playing it normally. And you know what's funny is I had similar problems over at I Am Setsuna. So, yeah, that's that. I'm going to go ahead and shut down this. And chop off the local recording.